Alright folks, John Cordisco back again. Round 3, Game 4. It's actually a tiebreak game between Peter Svidler, 8-time Russian champion, I believe. Quite an accomplishment as white. And Timur Rajabov. Timur, in the last couple of years, has pretty much fallen out of the top 10 quite a ways. It happens sometimes. It's strange. You'll be on the top 10 for a long time, then you just drop out of sight. Well, I still think he's a world-class player. They're both rated over 2,700. Anyway, let's get to it. This is the second game of the tiebreak games. First 2 games, this is a 2-game match. It's a knockout setup in the FIDE World Chess Cup. And Timur lost the first game. This is the second game of the tiebreak, so let's get to it. So Timur Rajabov has to win. And he's black. Svidler is white. And of course, Grunfeld, which I really was surprised he played a Grunfeld against Svidler, because Svidler's, at least for my estimation, is considered to be a big Grunfeld expert. Bishop takes, C takes, C5, pawn takes, knight, E3. This is a really interesting Grunfeld here. And of course, we all know how powerful this dark squared Grunfeld bishop is. One, he's where he is on the diagonal, and 2 is he is the king of the board now. There is no dark squared bishop to challenge him. Queen to A5, queen to D2. Just to stop that problem with, if you see here, the problem is bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, check, forcing the king to move, and then you got problems. After queen to D2, castles for black, A3. Try to stop that. Queen takes, you get the pawn back. Rook C1, or I should say white's up a pawn. Queen B6, moving the queen around a lot. I'm not so sure about that. Queen to D6 I think would have been a little bit better. Knight to B6 maybe. I know there's going to be a discovery on the queen, but I don't think that's the end of the world. But he decides to move the queen. He probably was afraid of this discovery, thus losing the dark square. Oh, that's a good line. Thus losing the dark squared bishop. Queen to B6, knight F3, knight C5. It's a good spot for that knight. You're going to go B4, make your A pawn backwards, make your pawns weak, plus take the defender of the knight away? Probably not. Bishop C4 for Svidler, bishop G4. It doesn't pin anything, but it's going to be annoying if bishop takes knight and then those pawns on the F file get doubled up. So it's knight to D4, which is a great spot for him anyway. It's right in the center of the board. And there's no way black's going to give up his dark squared bishop for it. So A5, finally white castles, rook AC8, H3, just to kick the bishop. No place he can really go. He has to go back to D7. So that bishop scope is pretty much, right now, worthless. Rook to C2, trying to double up on the C file, I think. Bishop comes back. Interesting. The bishop to G7. I thought A4 was pretty good. Thus making the B pawn for white backwards basically forever. Maybe the computer likes king G7, and that one I don't understand. Rook after D8 I think is a good move as well for black, but he decides this to move the bishop back. Rook FC1. You gotta remember, this isn't a full-time control. This is a rapid game, tiebreak game. I'm pretty sure it's a half an hour per side. Rook after d8, queen e2. Knight goes, finally get rid of that knight, but he decides to move it instead. I like white. The computer bears that out, but I just like the way white's setup is. His pieces are all engaged. They're all doing something. Black seems to be back on his heels, and now we're wondering what that knight's doing on a4. So he comes back. Bishop a2 just gets the bishop out of the way completely. Well, for a couple of reasons. One, it gets him out of danger, and two is this double rook right here. It opens that file up. Knight a6. And it seems like Rajabov is just back on his heels. Bishop c4, it puts the bishop back. That one I don't understand. Let's go back here. Couple of moves. Rook takes, trade all the rooks off. h4 maybe, just to cement the knight in there. But who am I to second guess Peter Svidler? Bishop f6. Interesting move there. I think knight c5 is a good choice for black, just to block up the file. Decides to go bishop f6. And that's so good. Now after b3, king goes to f8. That one I don't get at all either. I gotta tell you, I like Timur Rajabov a lot. He's a world-class player. Lately he's been a little down, but that bishop f6, the bishop back to g7, the king to f8. It looks like he doesn't know what he wants to do. Doesn't have a plan. Rook to d1. Undoubles the rooks, but he is guarding the knight. Knight over. Now finally, trade some minor pieces. Rook takes. What to do? What to do? Knight to e6 check. I think Peter miscalculated. Should have went a4. Now we're on move 26. I'm not sure if they were short on time. Peter Svidler, as we know, is one likes to walk around between moves. He very rarely sits at the board, but these fast time controls, he's got to sit there. And this is where Rajabov, I think, miscues. He plays bishop takes, and it went from a 1 3/4 point advantage for black to a 1.25. That's a 3-point swing in one move. D takes. Rook takes. Queen takes. And now Rajabov stumbles again. Should probably go rook to c8. Just watch the back rank. Rook c6 maybe. He plays pawn takes. And that's the end. Queen checks. King g7. Now this is a move. Take a good look at it here. It's a wonderful move. Wonderful move. Bishop takes e6. If the queen takes the bishop, the rook is hanging. What do you do? What do you do? If the rook takes, queen takes b6 check. Queen takes b6 and he loses the queen. If he goes g5, you just lose the rook. So he has to go rook to c6 and it's already over. Just a miscalculation. Queen checks, king h6, queen f8 check, forcing the king out, blocking with the bishop. Rook takes, queen takes, queen takes, pawn, bishop comes up. Not only is black's king cornered, but he's down 2 pawns. Queen c3, desperately trying to do something here. But there's no way, even if black does check, there's no perpetual. Because once the king escapes, the queen can't come back and check. Queen could go to here probably, but you lose the queen for free. So there is no other check. g3, b5, h4. Here comes the noose tightening around the black king. Queen to f6. pawn takes check, and that's where Timur Rajabov said, that's enough, I resign, on move 38. Give you an idea, after king takes, queen of d7, queen takes check, king h5, king g2. You're down 2 pawns. This isn't even worth playing out. So there you have it, folks. The second tiebreak game of round 3 between Peter Svidler and Timur Rajabov. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm a little disappointed in Timur. He got this far, though. He won the first 2 rounds, but even still. And nothing against his wife, but ever since he got married and had a kid, poor Timur, I think, has kind of lost his standing in the world ranking. But hopefully he'll get that back. As long as he's happy, that's all that really matters. Anyway, folks, as I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.